Sunrise over the mountains on the final day. Rigged up the Mojo Bass Fly with some topwater baby Dahlberg divers. Got that popper tied up from the tutorial, ready to go. We're gonna hit some early morning first light topwater largemouth. What's going on, everybody? Gunnar here. I'm currently in Mexico with Nomadic Waters. We're staying at the Anglers Inn Lodge on Lake Picachos, and I kind of just thought while we're here, there's really no better place to film a deer hair tutorial, and there's going to be two of them. The first is going to be stacking deer hair. We're going to stack kind of popper, and then we're going to do spinning deer hair because they're different techniques, and I want to do just very simple videos on each technique, just breaking it down. And I just thought there was no better place in the world to do it besides the wind outside because Lake Picachos is arguably one of the best largemouth bass lakes in the world. So let's do this, let's dive in. I do have a goal for this video. So I haven't done deer hair work in probably 4 years. That's being honest, 4 years. And I think that's going to be really cool because I don't want it to look like magic. I don't want it to look seamless. I don't want it to look easy. I want it, it's going to come out good, don't get me wrong. I can make a pretty tight bass bug, but it's not going to be very artistic. The skill set that I'm going to try to teach you is going to be 100% based on functionality, so just how to get that deer hair to behave the way you want, because it's a very intimidating material. It takes a lot of practice. I will say I have learned nearly 100% of this from Pat Cohen. Back in the day, I bought all of his DVDs, his hair packer. It's the best. If you need additional resources, that's where to go. But let's dive in and work with deer hair. So we do have to deal with a little bit of wind, but I think the view's worth it, so wish me luck. I did pick the best deer hair that I had on hand. I don't have a lot of deer hair on hand, so this should be about average for what you can find. You'll notice it's all on raw hide. The hides are never tanned, so they're usually stiff. If they have cowlicks, it's going to be a little bit frustrating to work with. You want that nice straight hair, quite a bit of coarseness to it because you want the flare, so you want that trapped air, plus you want the buoyancy. And you should definitely look for people, try to just ask around for people who grade this stuff before they sell it, because you really want the length. The thing about this hair is it's belly hair. All the stuff that you're going to see, because in order to get the colors, the reds, the yellows, the oranges, chartreuse, they have to dye it over white, and the belly hair is white. So there's a really limited number. There's not a lot of high quality hair, because it's there's not a lot of high quality hair because it's such a small part of the deer. And so make sure you can pick it out yourself, find it at your local fly shop, contact somebody you know and trust to make sure that you have something long enough to actually stack, manipulate, use in your hand, and also build a beefy collar or a large profile for whatever pattern you're going to do. So there's basically two threads you're looking for. The first is going to be GSP. It's gel spun poly something. And you want probably 150 to 200 strands. And the higher strand count is going to help stop that thread from literally cutting into the hair. You can pull so hard, you'll just cut the hair off, right? If you use like 100 or 75, you can just cut the hair. So 150 or 200 is going to be more forgiving to work with. This stuff has zero stretch. You can pull so hard you can cut your finger if you wrap it and yank it. Like, be careful. But this is the strongest thread on the market. The other that I like to use is 0.08 of an inch monofilament, and this is what I'm going to use to build my tail. Now, the quick theory here: when you build this tail, I'm going to use very little room, and as I build it, I'm going to make a pretty aggressive thread bump, and I'm going to make sure all that thread is glued to that hook shank so that I have something to pack the hair against. If you don't make a big base right here, a big material dam to pack the hair against, you can't make a very tight head. It'll just slide down your bend, right? You need something to push against. So you got to get that thread glued to the hook, super tight, accurate pressure wraps, stack all the tailing material in one place to jam and pack, and that's going to be across both patterns. So that's everything you need to know. Let's dive in on how to stack deer hair. I'm going to do the tail, fast forward through that. Y'all don't need to know that. I'm just using what I have on hand. Do the tails per your own recipe. Let's do it. Hope you guys are ready to stack and pack, because this is how it goes. So I got my really tight, dense tailing material glued on. Everything can't move, and I have a big base to shove all of that hair against. Now I'm going to do this entire thing in the wind with no tools, and I'm going to try to make it truly as accessible as I can. So I'm going to start that GSP. Now the GSP is super slick. So you put a little bit on, you wrap back, and just tighten it down as hard as you can. And once you get it so that it's not spinning on the hook shank, you're kind of locked in and good to go. I'm going to go right back to my base here. I'm going to do the belly with white. I'm going to put orange on top, and I'm going to show you how to put a spot inside of that. So a few advantages of stacking: being able to countershade, white bottom, colored top, being able to put a stack inside of a stack inside of a stack. It's going to be able to make it tighter, more buoyant, more durable, easier to trim, a handful of things that are really going to allow it to throw water and dive and plop and make loud sounds, right? So it's going to allow you to get a lot of hair on the hook. So I'm going to come in with quite a lot of deer hair, basically as much as you can hold in your fingers. Grab those tips, cut it off the hide. Now you want to come in with a comb. And here's the secret: when you grab these tips, if you just twist your fingers a little bit, the butts open up and they give you all of the junk. It's all just in twisting your fingers to loosen it up. Plus you can lose just a little bit of that small hair that you don't really need. Now for these first stacks, the one on the belly and the one on the top all the way at the back, I'm going to kind of align my tips, because off the hide they're heavily tapered, and I'm just going to drop them into my hand. Normally you'd use a hair stacker for this, but you don't need one. I'm just evening them up. It's a little tricky in the wind, but we managed. I'm going to cut those butts flush, and this is where the magic happens. You need to get this hair on the underside of the hook with zero of it on top of the hook, and it has to be perfectly evenly distributed. So you're going to split that, say 50-50, right? So I'm going to try to catch it just right in the middle. I'm going to come up with slack. Look how loose it is. Look how loose that is. You should be able to see that all on film. And I want it down the hair a little bit further, and I'm just going to lightly compress that. Another one in the same location. Another one in the same location. Now there's a lot of techniques that you can do to get it to the bottom. The easiest one is to kind of just take your thumb and push up on it. Literally just walk it around as you start to cinch it down. Now you don't have to be panicked or in a hurry. I have all the time in the world. There's not some science to this or anything. You just shove your thumb on top. Shove it on top and force the hair down and around. You can take your fingers. Let me turn this towards the camera. I can literally pull this down and around. Cinch it down a little bit. Push it around the hook shank. Cinch it down a little bit. And when you're ready to flare, what you have to understand is as you pull, the thread's going to rotate around that hair. As it tightens, it's going to cinch down, and it's going to want to bring it up to the top. So if you just push it away from you a little bit, your thumb's on top to pack it against, and then you pull down tight. Look at this. I'll show you. I got nothing but bare hook shank. Nothing but bare hook shank on top. You're in control the whole time. Now I'm going to come in with the yellow. I'm going to use basically as much as I can. Again, I'm going to grab those tips and just twist them in my fingers, which is going to free all the crap. You don't want any of the hair, the insulative fibers, the actual physical, like human hair looking stuff. I'm going to pack that against my hand to even up the tips. I'm gonna even up the butts. Now as you lay this down, this is what really becomes the most technical thing in all of this, is material handling, being able to transfer your hands, keep the butts even, keeps the tips even, go back and forth, get your hand out of the way to lay it down level. That is where the skill is truly needs to be developed. Now I'm going to draw out some thread so I can come in with slack again. I'm going to try to take the same thread path no matter what I do. Now I don't want that hair to bleed and simp down. Again, as I cinch the thread down, that rotation of the thread as it tightens around the hair is going to pull it, push it and pull it, right? And so if I pinch on either side of that, it's going to stop the hair. It can't go anywhere. It just has to go straight down because I'm making it go straight down. And I can just cinch that down. And now it's counter shaded, top and bottom. I hope that the wind's not ruining my camera angles here. Now to get two colors inside of each other and to really, maybe I can stick those in a spring. Probably not, the hackles are too big, but to really get it dense on top, to get the hair really tight and really buoyant, you just take a finger and you just kind of make a space for it. Look at that. And so you want to make it flat, you want it right on top, not anywhere else. And now you just have a big landing pad for some more hair. So I'm going to come in with some red here, just so you guys can see it. It has nothing to do with some successful color combo or anything like that. You could do black and olive and frog colors and whatever. I just want you guys to be able to see it so you know it's there. I'm going to come in, I'm going to spin those tips, open everything up, comb out all the butts. I'm going to try to align those tips in this crazy wind. I'm going to come in and cut that edge flush. Now in this little landing that I made, again, the skill is in the material handling, trying to get that perfectly even, perfectly symmetrical, right on top. You just take your time. You should be able to let go, retransfer, let go, retransfer, even in a 20-mile-an-hour cross breeze here. Come up with slack, right in the same spot. Come up with slack, right in the same spot. Again, pinch that down so it goes straight down. Now here's where deer hair gets a little bit not fun. But because the GSP has zero stretch, understand that if you let go, you can retighten. So I'm going to take my fingers. I'm going to let the hair get out of my way. You just take your time. You're not in a hurry. Let the hair get out of your way. And I'm going to finger pack that back as tight as I can. And I have something to pack it against. That's absolutely critical that you have something to pack it against. Now I can come in and just this little pinch hold, get all the hair out of the way, cinch that down as hard as you can before you come up. Make sure your grip on your bobbin is how you want it. And as you bring this through, you just want to do like this kind of little shimmy shake maneuver, and it just helps get the hair off the thread. And again, it's not really doing what I want, so I'm just watching it. I'm trying to bring it through that hair, trapping as little as possible. And that's not bad. Now if you come forward, just get some thread on there. You can see how far forward I went to get my thread on there. I can now pull that knot back. I'm going to take my fingernails and I'm going to shove that GSP back, just with my fingernails, nothing more. And right now, if you look at this, it's a little bit wonky. If you look at the hook eye compared to where the colors are, you can just spin that back into place. Then you're going to come in with your super glue. Now you're good to go. Now we're going to rinse and repeat that, and we're going to do all of that rinsing and repeating on a thread base. On a thread base, and you're just going to pack this thing all the way forward. So I'm going to basically show you and fast forward, but hopefully that breakdown explains everything you need to know. Get a color on bottom, get a color on top, put a color in a color, really using as much hair as you can physically handle, clean out the butts, have something to pack it against. And we'll finish this fly. I'll show you a little trick at the hook eye that I learned from Pat. Basically, you just need a plastic bag. And let's finish this guy off. All right, so first thing first, you need some razor blades. These are single-edged razor blades. I actually have these on my online shop along with the threads and whatnot. But just a razor blade. I'm going to do more or less all the trimming in my hand with the exception of the belly, because the belly's in my vise. It's very easy to do. And what you want to do with your razor blades is you want to hold them at a 45-degree angle relative to the hair. If you come and push flat, you're asking that blade to cut all the hair at one time, which is hard, and it'll tend to dig in and slip and catch. But if you hold it at a 45, you're cutting one strand at a time more or less, and you want to draw it, literally pull it towards yourself, draw the knife across the hair. Now, if you watch somebody like Pat, he can trim this whole belly in one freaking swoop of the razor. It's probably going to take me about 5 minutes. So no tools, nothing fancy, not a stacker, not a packer, tying in a 15-mile-an-hour crosswind. I want to show you how tight that belly is. And that's just being able to tie with that much hair with GSP, and being able to, using literally as much as you can hold in your hand, which will take practice. You'll probably be able to start out at maybe a pencil and a half or 2 pencils, and then work your way up to probably 3, and that's about max. But look how tight that is. No tools, no nothing, just a tight belly of deer hair, all done in hand. So that as soon as that is flat as flat can be, which will take quite a bit of trim work. But as soon as you've established basically a horizon, you have a flat mark, and you trust that that is flat, all you need to know how to do is basically make a box. That's all you got to do. If you can make a box and then you can 45 those, now you've made kind of a hexagon or an octagon, and then you 45 those, and now you've made a circle, and then you can trim and shape that out and sculpt it out. All you need to know how to do is make a box. Once you have the box, the rest is just minute detail. Wouldn't it be great if the stacking portion of this video was just phenomenal, and the trimming portion, because I've never shaped a popper, is just atrocious? There's a good chance of that, ladies and gentlemen. There's a good chance of that. You know, it's probably a good thing this video was about stacking deer hair and not trimming popper heads. It came out okay. We'll see how the fish like it tomorrow. Definitely not my finest work, but not bad for a first attempt at a popper head. But that's your deer hair work. That's how you get white belly, yellow sides, stack inside of a stack, and a proper bass bug. So you can put eyes on it. You could thread some rubber legs through here. You could do whatever you wanted. But I hope that video helps you out. I'll check you in the next one, where we're going to spin some hair. Let's do this.